the low whip, the low hoopty. Alright, welcome back to another R31 video, guys. Still waiting on a lot of parts from Arvid there at RV Factory, but there is a few things we can go on with. Specifically now that we've got the Silvia to the point where we're just about ready to start laying some paint down, we can certainly get the 31 to that sort of point as well and try and paint them both at the same time. So for anyone who's watched the S13 build as well, you would have noticed we ripped out pretty much all of the unnecessary wiring. I've decided to do the same thing to this thing, so that's one thing we can do, is go and rip out most of the loom. Pretty much all of this wiring in here can go, all of the engine loom, and all the body loom up to the front. Sorry, engine loom's already gone, my bad. But yeah, all of this body loom, it can just go. Really don't particularly need it. Might use the plugs off it just for the headlights and stuff, but apart from that, it's we're not going to be using much of it. We're going to be simplifying the wiring quite a lot, similar to, yeah, same thing as the S13. So plenty we can get rid of. Try and get rid of a little more of the crap in here, so that we can pretty much, you know, have this just about ready for paint as well. So another part that I've actually received for this car that I've been super excited about. It's been really hard. I've wanted to make a video about it for ages, but it's all I sort of had. I didn't have, because I still am waiting for parts from Arv, and I didn't have enough to make like a whole video to make the content. So I've had these guards for a while now, but I haven't showed them to YouTube yet. But these are R31 wide body fiberglass front guards. To my knowledge, they're pretty much the first of their kind. I'm not sure if you might be able to get some from Japan for the HRs and stuff, but as far as just bolt up fiberglass wide body front guards, these are pretty much the first that I know of. I was hoping to have the rest of the front end in to make this video so that I could show you what they look like with actual fitment and low and stuff, but hopefully you can use your imagination and sort of have a look. So these are made by ST Customs, a local Queensland guy, awesome bloke. This is apparently the first set out of the molds, so very lucky to be sporting these on the car. They're going to make it just look so sick. So they're 40mm wide. I've measured them on the other side. They're 40mm wider than standard, and yeah, I'm absolutely stoked with these things. It's going to be sick. So I'll leave a link in the description. I think the going rate is around $600 or $650 plus shipping, obviously, if you're not local to Southeast Queensland and can't pick them up. So yeah, go and head to his Facebook and check him out. Awesome. And if he gets enough interest and enough people buy the fronts, he's actually going to start developing rears. So it'd be so sick that we have complete wide body kits available to us in fiberglass, which would be freaking wicked. So that's sick. I'm super excited. Can't wait to get this car finished. It's going to be so sick. So anyway, we'll go on with ripping heaps of this crap out that we don't need. Have a yeeter party.
They're the best kind.
I'll get rid of this guard that we don't need. I've got the other guard in the back here ready to go on. I've ordered a new radiator. I've also ordered the clutch for it, so literally as soon as we get this stuff from Arvin from RV Factory, we'll just start steamrolling ahead with this thing and get it done. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. This is a lot less sanding work than the Silvia because we don't plan on actually, this doesn't have crazy crack, so it's just pretty much a sand back and then we're just going to hit it with the enamel. There's going to be no priming, but a few things here we'll have to just bog up. Just try and fix that roof a little bit, just make it sort of a little bit nicer. Rex has gone and pulled all the wiring out, so we're looking nice and bare in there. Beautiful. Lovely. These are our bonnet pins and a little dress up bolts, heaps of stuff like that. I'm actually decided this time So what I had last time, I ran the drag spoiler on my old 31. I just had it like tech screwed into the boot. What I'm going to do this time is actually drill a nut cert, M6 nut certs into it, and then use the red dress up bolts to actually bolt the spoiler to the boot. So if you can imagine, it'll be all blacked out, black spoiler, and then those red that will be bolting it. And then if I make Perspex windows, which I do sort of plan on eventually, not so much for weight, but more so just for safety, just because they can't shatter. I'll do the same thing where I'll make them out of Perspex and then just Sikaflex them here and just pretty much bolt them on with this. So these will be all the fixings, will be these, as well as all the guard bolts and stuff. I'm sure they're not very good quality fixings, but whatever, they look cool, I don't care. So I've decided I actually am going to plate this rust as well. Nothing too drastic, you know. It's not a street car, so I'm not looking to do anything too crazy, but I will clean it up a bit and just plate this up. You know, I think it's worth doing. We're going for this far with the car. I think it's worth doing a few things to it. So heaps of the wiring removed there. But yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, but I'll keep ticking along with this as we go throughout the week. Because I am trying to get it ready for paint, I do actually have to get all my aero stuff together, which you're probably interested a fair few of you in the 31 with what I'm trying to do with my aeros. So let's kick on through the week. Righto guys, back into 31 stuff. It has been a struggle to find time to keep going with this car, but anyway, regardless, we are going to. So, new radiator has arrived. So, this is my new alloy rad. So there's nothing wrong with the standard R31 radiators. They're really, really good. The plastic tank ones, they seem to never really have problems unless you smash them with a fan. But we just don't have one. So that's why I bought the cheap alley one, just because it's cheaper than, like, the last standard one we bought was like $100 secondhand. So they're pretty hard to find for a decent price. So I figured I'd just buy alloy one. It was like $130 or something. So that's there ready to go. So we've got a radiator now, which is awesome. I've also got this box here from Mr. RB Factory. So this is part one of the stuff we need. So these are our cross member spacers, lower control arms, heaps of exciting stuff. We'll go through it more as they go into the car, but that is here, which means we can continue on with what we want to do. Also, we've sort of been spending a bit of time on the shell every now and then when it's in the shade. Rex managed to scrape the whole dumb sticker off the top, so that's okay. You can see where I've sanded to. All this still has to be sanded, so there's still some sanding and prep to do, but it's getting there. It shouldn't take too long. I'm not too worried about prep because we're not that worried about the paint. So I am gonna
industrial enamels. It'll stick to
anything. So I am gonna try and plate this up a bit. The rust's worse on the other side here, and I do want to paint the bay fairly soon. Because once we get our cross member spacers in, we get the motor back in and dummied up, it shouldn't really have to come back out. So I'd like to paint the bay so that the motor can then just go in and be done. So that was like one of the last things we really needed to finalize the motor position and get our gearbox cross member and stuff made, was those spacers. So now they're here, that's awesome. But that'll probably be the next episode. For now, I need to sort out some stuff with this engine. So I've opted to get this oil cooler kit. You know, one thing with LS is they are a hot running engine. It's just generally what happens. And if you're gonna flog it around a track in a drift car, it's a good idea to have an oil cooler. We actually often recommend them, even to people doing, you know, cam upgrades and stuff in Commodores. We do recommend an oil cooler usually. But anyway, I just opted for a real cheap China one. I figure at the very least, it's, you know, lines in the block and everything I need. If the cooler's trash, I can just upgrade it later. Not a big deal, but at least it sort of gives me somewhere to start. So, got this China oil cooler, right? Which is all well and good, that's great, except for this thing. You can't put it in the front because it goes straight into the alternator. So it's got to go at the back, and you can't put it at the back there because it needs to be spaced off the sump, as you can see. So I needed to get a sump spacer. Now, if you remember when I put the actual trapdoor baffle in the sump, the two lines that actually connect from here down to there were really tight onto the new trapdoor baffle, and I had to actually physically like push them down to get the screws in. So that means if I pull them screws out of the back of the sump with the sump on the engine, that fitting on the inside of the sump where those two pipes go to is just going to go dunk, and I'll never be able to get them screws back in with the spacer. So that means I have to flip the motor off, take the sump out, and do it off the motor, which is a pain in the ass, but it has to happen. So I ordered a spacer from Aeroflow, which I have. Here it is here. Pow! So that's what we need. So that's a little spacer that just spaces it off the sump, which means that my little block there can actually get bolted. and that's going to be my oil cooler block thingy, my bobby majig. Hopefully keep oil temps down so that I can just murder tires day in, day out, all day long, and have fun with this car. So, need to make some flapping room here so I can work. Creep everywhere. That's what I mean. I really want to get this thing out of here because it's taking up room in the engine room that we really need. So I'd rather it be in a car than in here on a stand, although it is so pretty. Another thing you'll notice here is our power steering delete pulley. So this deletes our power steering, still allows us to run the serpentine belt in the regular configuration, which is nice and simple and easy for us. Because as these guys know, it's going electronic power steering in this car. So that's a bit of a new thing on here as well. Looks gangster, I like it, it's cool. So the beauty of LS gaskets is they're all rubber and steel, most of you already know, so it really is not a big deal that I have to take the sump off. Like, gasket's still going to be fine, everything's still going to be fine, so at least there's that. It is just a pain though, but whatever, you know, you get that. Particularly the fact, as you can see, it's all beautiful and painted already, and I'm going to scratch all the bolts taking it out. Nah. So the other thing that I've sort of been thinking about that I sort of haven't decided or discussed with you guys yet. So as you guys would have seen when we put this engine together, we just used some single conical springs because we had some in stock and we needed to use them, and we figured, you know, generally when we build a customer engine we always use double springs. There is a few very important reasons for that, mostly insurance, and also, you know, coil bind and things like that, particularly with the cam. Like, the cam that's in this engine is no joke. It is actually quite a cranky stick, particularly for single conical valve springs. So originally, because it's our engine and it's stock bottom end and stuff, we were just like, you know, who cares? We'll just send it with the single springs, and if we break one, whatever, too bad so sad. Wouldn't really bother us, rah rah rah. But we were talking about like 2 months ago when LS1s were like a throwaway disposable item. A consumable, if you will. But as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, particularly with COVID and everything else going on, prices for these things are actually starting to get really, really high. To the point where the last couple that we've done for customers, we've actually gone out of our way and spent a lot more money than you used to pay for a whole motor to fix some broken blocks that we've had to make things work. So given that, given the fact that LS1s are no longer just a cheap, easy to get, smack another one together sort of thing, sort of deal, we're sort of at a point with this thing where, for the sake of a set of double valve springs, which is like, for us, I think it's cost me $400 or something, it's probably worth smashing a set of doubles in it now, while it's nice and easy and out of the car before it goes in, is what we're at the moment. So thinking about doing that. We're still, like, I believe the singles should still be okay, but like I said, this is quite a big cam. We generally, if we were building a motor for a customer, we definitely would not put singles in with this cam for a customer engine. So yeah, thinking about, for the price and for the insurance, thinking about just putting a set of double valve springs in it, just for peace of mind. So the other handy thing is because this is a brand new gasket, I didn't actually rivet it to the sump, which means I didn't have to disturb the few areas where I put RTV on the front and rear cover plates, which means I should be able to just do my modifications with the sump and just bolt it straight back on. We should be sweet. So this is a little culprit here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when I take these bolts out. So you can see how with them bolts taken out, it's no longer aligned. I actually have to push that down to align it with the holes. So obviously if this sump was still on the motor, there is no way at all I could actually do that. So that's why this had to happen. Alright, so I've got to take out these little grubby boys so that the oil passage is actually open. Alright, I got them out, but this just keeps getting better. So, can you see there, this little lip right here, right? Take your gasket. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? It's on that lip. That's no good. That's just no good at all. All right, take our little spacer boy and oh, look at that. Sits against that lip. That's not going to seal. Frickin' hell. Just never frickin' ends. It never ends. Ugh. So if you go like this, see that? See that angle? Frickin' hell. Alright, well this is gonna need some MacGyver ass shit going on. Love it. So you can see I've marked that with a blade. That's how much needs to be taken in room to account for this. What an absolute prick. Alright, so this is my solution. And I'm not even going to bother with a gasket on this surface to the sump. I'm just going to RTV it and hope that it stays glued forever. And just use a gasket on the outside surface, but that actually fits there now. Yubbity yubbity yubbada. Cool beans, has some clearance. Cool. So, that should work. Yay. Alright, so problem number 2. Don't have any bolts that are going to be long enough. So these are the ones they actually give you with the spacer, which don't make any sense because what the hell are you going to bolt onto the spacer where they're going to be long enough? These are the ones they give you with the oil cooler block, which are also obviously way too short. My camera would fucking focus. I hate this camera so much. So they're too short. These don't fit because the heads are different. They don't actually fit in the oil cooler block, wherever it went here. So it needs little button heads that are going to fit down there. So yeah, this is pretty much all the bust until I get more bolts. So what I'm going to do, because I want to pretty much glue this to the sump, I'm going to RTV it and chuck these bolts in so that it actually sets. Fucking focus, you piece of shit camera. Anyway, it's the old bolts. I'm going to put them in there so that I can actually set the RTV, and I can make sure that there's none that overflow into the center that make spillage and restrict flow, etc. And then hopefully that can just stay stuck to the sump, and when I get some longer bolts I can put that on with a gasket and should be happy days. Alright, so we've got all our paint off, we've all brake cleaned up, so I'll just get some RTV on it and glue it together. Alright, so that'll just stay there like that until I can source some long enough bolts to bolt the rest of it together. And just hopefully set and seal and hopefully never leak, because that'd piss me off. Righto guys, so I've ordered bolts to suit. They're not going to be here till next week. Alright, psych. It's not ending yet. I've actually decided that I'm definitely going to do doubles, like all the reasons I explained just before. So, we've got some double springs here that we have in stock. I've ordered a new set to replace these ones to keep in stock. So yeah, we're going to chuck some doubles in this thing just for some peace of mind. You know, it's a big stick, I want to rev it, and I want it to be reliable, so I may as well just put doubles in it. It's a small price to pay now, otherwise you end up with a drop valve and a split piston and a split bore and a split block like we've seen with the purple block we tried to get fixed. So I don't want that to happen because they're starting to get too hard to get. So double springs it is. Woo-hoo-hoo, get rid of these pesky singles. Alright, so I was hoping we could get away with just like whacking these springs on without having to change the seats, but the single seats have that ridge in the middle which the center spring rides on, which means we've got to replace the seats, which means we've got to do the valve stem seals again, which would be the third set of valve stem seals that I've put in this motor since we built it. So, lesson learnt guys, just do it right the first time. These singles will be fine for a really mild aspirated cams combo, like in a street car. We'll keep them for something like that, but you know, just this is a pretty big cam. It's a lot of seat pressure, and I do want to rev it pretty hard, like probably just Limmy bash it everywhere in the drift car. So should have just done it to start with. I was hoping to get away with, you know, 400 bucks of saving, but not gonna happen. So that is the correct stem seal and seat. So we just go up, up, push them down in there. Look at our seal drivey boy. And we drive him home. And we're back down and a new locks go on. And that's one. So now it's got to do that 7 more times. Alright, so we're officially all double springed up, which is awesome. Alright, sorry guys, so Ricky actually turned up the other day just as I was finishing off putting the last of the rockers on this thing, but So yeah, and we ended up, you can watch the video, we were busy until like really late. The one other thing that I'm going to do in this episode before I sign off, obviously these are just, you know, they do the job, these throttle bodies. They're nothing special. They are what they are. They're not amazing, but you know, 92mm hole is a 92mm hole, really. But the thing is, because they are cheap, I don't trust these. And you've seen, I'm sure everyone's seen horror stories of these screws rattling out and being swallowed, and obviously that's definitely not what you want in your motor. So what I actually want to do is I'm going to pull these out. Well, this is off the car. This is just sort of screwed on temporarily. I haven't tightened this up yet. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to take these screws out. I'm going to Loctite the shit out of them and put them back in. I'm still convinced that we're probably going to have to drill a hole. For those of you who do a lot of big cam LS stuff, what we often have to do is just drill a hole in the throttle body just so that you get a little bit more air on that big cam, because they don't create heaps of vacuum the bigger the cam you go. But we can do that in car, so I'm not too worried about that, but I definitely want to Loctite these screws. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then that'll be the end of this episode. Alrighty guys, we are back together. So we're all double springed up. We've got our throttle body actually finally installed. We're ready to go. And as you've seen, we've got this beautiful piece of equipment here. So just waiting on them bolts I need for that sump extension spacer thing. And then it can go back on. Once the sump's back on, it's basically ready to go back in the car again. Arvin messaged me this morning. He got my last box of stuff off on the courier today. So it should be here hopefully midweek-ish. And one thing I did forget to show you guys the other day when I was showing you all the parts over there was I actually do have my clutch here. So I've opted for the XCD, the 5-puck button style clutch. So that's where I'm signing off this one. Once again guys, I do apologize for this episode of this car being so disjointed and all over the place. It's the first episode I think we've made since we sort of had the Sylvia going. It's just been one of those things with waiting for parts, trying to do a little bit here and there. I'm trying to make it into a video, but I know it's probably a bit hard to follow and disjointed and a bit annoying. So, sorry guys, it is what it is. I'm glad we've got double springs in that engine now. We've got that a bit further along. It's at a point where it's, yeah, you know, it's pretty much ready to go in now. So once I get this parts from Arvin, we should be able to steamroll ahead and hopefully be able to make content, you know, that's all one hit. It's a bit easier to follow from now on. So once I get the rest of the stuff from Arvin, we've got to get the space beam across so we can get the final position for the engine done. I've got to get the front end in so that I can figure out exactly what length tie rod ends I need. That's going to be the hardest thing, because these control arms and knuckles are pretty aggressive. I have no idea what sort of length tie rods I'm going to need yet. So I'm so excited for this thing, especially with Matsuri just gone. I didn't even get to go, but just from watching all the footage and seeing everyone there, all our customers and stuff, I'm just so freaking excited to get this thing sorted. And the image I have of how this car's going to look in my head and sound, I'm just so keen. I'm so keen. This and the Sylvia, I'm just keen as. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. Hit subscribe, smash like, peace out, see you, bye.